I call this Planning and Community Affairs Committee meeting to order, held Monday, May 14th, 2018. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silence. Please be seated. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and nature thereof. I have to declare pecuniary interest on 8.1 as declared on the April 23rd PCNA committee minutes, page 3, as well as COMS 2018-37 with references to Stockworth development and the intersection of Euler Drive expansion with the region on Simcoe Street, as well as the development on the vacant land on the corner, on the northwest corner of Euler and Simcoe Street, because my residence is within proximity to those discussions of those items, subject matter. So when 8.1 comes up and COMS 2018-37, I will relinquish the chair. Any other pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. Announcements from council first and then staff. Councillor Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of announcements. Granville Anderson would like me to make an announcement that he is having a meet and greet on this Thursday evening, May 17th, at 7 till 9 at the Golden Girls Home on Perry Street. And everyone is welcome to attend. It would be council as well as senior staff as well as the audience. Also, at our home, we're having a huge, this is probably 35 years we've done this now, community gigantic yard sale, and that's at our place on Simcoe Street North, and that will be next Friday and Saturday, not this one, but next one. And that will begin at 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, so they've got lots of stuff that has come. Our barn is full of it, and so is our shed. So please come and take some stuff home with you. It's great stuff. That's all. Thank you.
Any other announcements from council? All right. Seeing none. Announcements from staff? All right. Move on to the next item, which Councillor Guida, did you have an announcement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wanting to see if the chief wanted to say anything. I didn't want to take any thunder away from him, but this weekend, like every weekend, the firefighters will be up on the roof at Harp and Wiley's. There will be a kickoff ceremony this Friday in the park, and we encourage all of the community to come out and donate, throw some money in the boot, and come out and support the guys that will be up there. And it looks like the weather forecast looks good this time. So
what time?
Fingers crossed. I believe it is 6 o'clock. I believe it's 6 o'clock or 6:30 on Friday evening.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further announcements, I will relinquish the chair for the adoption of the previous PCNA minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have it moved by Councillor Drew, seconded by Councillor Kett. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried.
Seems like that's how I get my exercise now. Now, item 9.1, statutory public meeting, zoning amendment. So, sorry. Yep. Looking for a pink sheet, and it's white today. This portion of the meeting has been set aside for the statutory public information meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application Z01-2018, submitted by Sean and Lisa Van Andel on behalf of Robert and Caitlin Larmer for the property located at 3940 Prout Road. The applicant is the only person that can file an appeal of council's refusal to lift the holding symbol to the local planning appeals tribunal. As this zoning bylaw amendment application is to lift the holding symbol, the following will serve as both an information and recommendation report presentation. Public notice was served by the Township of Scugog in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. Mr. Rob Bertoli, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned, we're here to discuss the zoning bylaw amendment application Z01-2018. This is to lift the holding symbol on a portion of subject property to allow for the construction of a single detached dwelling within an agricultural hold zone. As such, the applicants are the only parties able to appeal council's refusal or non-decision of the removal of the holding symbol, should that be the outcome here today. As mentioned by the Mayor, this presentation serves as both to present information in regards to the application as well as to provide a recommendation to council as it pertains to a decision. A report was presented to council for their review, but I'll just touch upon a few of the main points. The applicant owns the property of 3940 Pratt Road. They are proposing to construct a 122 square meter single detached dwelling upon a portion of the subject lands that are currently zoned agricultural holding. The agricultural hold provides a minimum 90-meter buffer to the adjacent environmental protection zones. The intent of the hold symbol as it relates to agricultural zone is to ensure that any proposed non-agricultural uses will not adversely impact the adjacent natural heritage features located upon or within the environmental protection zones. The hold essentially provides the township a second viewing to confirm that the neighboring environmental features will not negatively be impacted by the proposed development. In this case, the applicant provided an environmental impact statement report which proved to the satisfaction of Kawartha Region Conservation that this was in fact the case and that there would be no negative externalities resultant of the proposed location of the structure. The applicant has requested this relief as the proposed location will reduce the distance between the non-farmable strip located behind the dwelling to the wooded area. This configuration will maximize farming efficiency while minimizing any potential negative impacts resulting in agricultural practices. In reviewing this application, as well as the supplemental EIS report provided, is staff's opinion that the rezoning application conforms to the applicable planning policy documents, and the staff is recommending that council adopt the draft zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bertoli. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none. Sean or Lisa Van Andel, do you have anything to add on behalf of your application? All right. Any questions, final questions from council? Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to the application? If so, please proceed to a microphone and state your name and municipal address for the record. All right. Seeing nobody wishing to speak to the application, I'll ask one last time if there are any questions from council. All right, thank you for attending and for providing your input into the statutory public information meeting, and this concludes the statutory public information meeting. At this time, I'd like to bring forward item 11.1, the recommendation from staff, moved by Councillor Watt and seconded by Councillor Drew. Any questions on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Now move to section 10.1. We'll Luann Young, I see, is here in the audience. You know the drill. This is the annual event. Come forward with your presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is our annual event for the Motorcycle Ride for Dad here in the Durham. It's on Saturday, June 9th. Registration starts at 7:30 in the morning until 9:30, and then we have then our speeches, and at 10 o'clock we leave for approximately 3 to 4 hour poker run, and it's very similar to last year. We're going to go again around Rice Lake. Our first poker stop is up at Classy Chassis, and then we'll be continuing on around Rice Lake and back. We're taking a few different roads this year, but very similar to last year's ride. given $367,000 to research and awareness here in New Durham and the Greater Toronto East to the different research doctors. Last year, for the first time at our annual summit, where they invite 1 to 2 representatives from all the chapters across Canada together, and TELUS sponsored the doctors that we've given grants to come and speak to us all, and so they could share all the research that they've done across our country on prostate cancer, and that way also the doctors wouldn't be duplicating research. So that was a very lucrative thing to have done this year for us. Now, if you're not a rider, you can still be part of our event. You can register online as a champion and bring in pledges, or you can just go online and donate. And please feel free to go online and donate to a participant, Luann Young. We have the honor this year to be led by the fire department's truck again. Of course, if they're not out fighting a fire or at an emergency. And we also will be having blockers set up by Alan Willett. And I have a personal apology to make to Mr. Mayor. It's an oversight on my part. I forgot to tell you last year that when you entered, to make sure to tell the parking attendant that you were to park with the executive committee members. Alan and I did look around the parking lot for you, but with the sea of motorcycles, we couldn't find you. So be sure, if you come and join us this year, that everybody doesn't recognize you with your helmet on, okay? Anyone have any questions so far?
You still have more to present?
No, I think I have if you want to know how to find us online, it's www.ridefordad.ca/Durham.
Okay, well, I'll start us off. Last Sunday, I was just browsing at Mackey's, and by Wednesday, I had traded in my Mustang for a 2018 Road Glide Ultra. So I have an electric blue touring Harley that I will make sure that I'm participating in today, and you'll be able to see it because it's vibrant blue. So
that sounds beautiful.
I'm excited. It only has 80 kilometers on it right now, so I've got to add the put some mileage on it.
Oh, then you definitely have to come do a ride then.
So.
And of course, I'm going to be sending you out a written invitation, personal invitation to come and speak to our riders once again.
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay.
Questions from council? Start off with Councillor Kett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Luann, for your tireless work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Drew.
Just want to congratulate you on the tremendous contribution you've made to research for prostate cancer. Good for
Thank you.
Councillor Back.
Thank you. I guess you know when you're becoming an empty nester when you turn in your Mustang for a new haul.
Empty. I can hold up a bike. I don't need to drive. No, son's going off to school in September, so we're empty nesters, so he snoozed, he lose on the Mustang. That's what it was.
Okay.
So any other questions from council? Seeing none? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your all your tireless efforts, as mentioned, echoing those comments, and the continuous exposure that you give for the great worthwhile cause. So, and I look forward to joining you on, I've got it written down here, June 9th, I already have my calendar, 7:30 to 9:30, 10 o'clock departure, so.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Luann. And I have moved by Councillor Somerville that the delegation by Luann Young, TELUS Motorcycle Ride for Dad, Durham and GTE chapter be received. I need a seconder for that. Councillor Watton. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the item 11.2, which is DEV 2018 Regional Official Plan Amendment Application, Youngfield Farms. Mr. Director Heritage, is there anything that needs to be highlighted on here? I mean, the report, it's pretty self-explanatory. Or, sorry, Diane, I wasn't looking over there.
This is a pretty straightforward application, Mr. Mayor. The applicant must apply to the Region of Durham to amend their official plan when they're purchasing and trying to sever a surplus dwelling from a non-abutting farm. They've done, I think this is the 7th since 2008 and the 4th within the last 4 years. It complies with all the planning policy documents, so our recommendation is for, that we have no objection to the application, and those comments would be forwarded to the Region of Durham.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Knutson? All right, I have moved by, Councillor Cat?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just inquiring about the fact that there's no abutting farm. Have we done this before?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have, Councillor. We've done it 7 times for the Youngfield Farms.
For Youngfield?
Yep.
When there's no abutting farm?
That's correct.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I have moved by Councillor Watton the recommended motion, and a seconder for that, Councillor Guido. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next is 11.3. I have conflict of interest, so I will relinquish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have it moved by Councillor Drew and seconded by Councillor Watton. Are there any questions on the report? Councillor Kett?
Thank you, Chair. There's a couple of comments I have. Number 5 is that the Region of Durham be requested to create a new category for hotel developments to encourage the development of hotels in the region. I like that call. Thank you, Carol. And of course, we all know that I'm always complaining about our transit, so I think it's another good call on your behalf. On number 9, in your report says that the Township of Scugog support the proposal to issue a redevelopment credit at the institutional DC rate. Later on in the report, it includes industrial, or no, it's number 9 on the
Are you looking for clarification, Councillor Kett?
yeah, I'm just wondering, when you say that the Township of Scugog support the proposal to issue redevelopment credit at the institutional DC rate, later in the report it says institutional and industrial.
Director Coleman, if you don't mind, I'll ask the CAO if he can add any comment to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, recommendation number 9 speaks to the a new provision that the region's proposing in their development charge background study, and it's separate and distinct from the industrial provision that they're providing, which is also new. So I could speak to them both. The recommendation number 9 deals with a credit for institutional DC rates. So presently, in the DC background study for the region, if a school, place of worship, government building, and institutional building is demolished, there's no DC credit. And the proposal is to provide a credit for that building, institutional building, in order to encourage redevelopment of the site. There has been difficulties in the past where the cost of demolition and redevelopment of the site impeded the ability for that site to be repurposed. And this provides a credit for that building like any other building that was being demolished currently under the bylaw. And then the portion about industrial buildings, the region has also expanded that provision so that if you are planning a new building, or you are planning an addition to an industrial building, you are permitted, you will be permitted, if this goes through as of July 1st, to receive a DC, waive the DC or a DC credit for 50% of the floor area of the building the addition is going on, even though if it had a credit before, or 50% of all the buildings on the site, floor area, to put a separate building on the site. So that's a new provision they're proposing also that we support.
So they're not just having to be joined anymore?
That's correct, Councilor
Okay.
Catt.
And so I guess my other question on the institutional situation, and what comes to mind is the school that was demolished and they're going to put up a hospice. So does that mean that we wouldn't have development charges on that site?
If I could, through the chair, with respect to the hospice, what that means is they would have the ability to apply for a credit for their new building, but they're exempt in any event because they're a building that, like a hospital. They meet that category, so they won't be subject to DC charges.
Okay, that's great. I'm also applauding the force main and pumping station in our employment lands. It's been we've been waiting for that for a long time. The rates that are quoted here in your table, I'm looking at Durham Region at $198 dollars per square meter, and York Region at $85.
Counselor Catt, which page are you on?
Oh, sorry, it's a chart on page 42. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, what I'd like to do is, how can we emphasize this more, that we have to get our prices more in line? It's more than twice what they charge in York Region. So, I understand, and I'm glad that you're mentioning that, but is there anything we can do on top of this to get people to look at it?
Through the chair, I think that this was not proposed by the region, and is something that we are bringing forward, and feel, as you had mentioned, Councilor Catt, very strongly that this should be done, and we're in favor of it. I think that if we could get this as a starting point, this would be a big step forward.
Do you have any further questions, Counselor Catt?
Yes, I have some more comments. Would you like me to pause?
No, I'd just like you to get through them.
The institutional DC rate, we're calling it a credit, and the CAO said that we have to apply for it, or not we, the institution or whatever would have to apply for it. Would that mean they'd have to pay for it and then?
Through the chair, no, when they start the redevelopment proposal, so they're rebuilding the new building, then they would bring to the attention of the region, they had taken down X square feet or square meters of building, and they would be then entitled to a credit towards their building that they're building.
Okay. Can you go on, and I'll
I absolutely
can you come back to me?
Counselor Drew?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm looking on page 37, and I just want to say all of the comments are excellent. Thank you so much for putting it all together. But on page 37, I just wanted to talk about point number 4, those remarks were made by myself and supported by many other counselors about advancing services to industrial lands. So I think that there's some hope there that that will get some mileage, and that'll be great for us. But we emphasized, a number of the counselors emphasized that we can't sell the employment lands if they're not serviced. So let's put the shovels in the ground and get it done. So I'm very hopeful. But all of the comments are excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Back?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 39, with regards to affordable housing, Part A, the implementing a new housing service DC to provide funding for a growth-related capital cost for affordable housing, and on page 50 of the Regions, page 4 of 23 of the Regions report, it talks of this again. Is this just going to be one regional bank account from all development that goes on in the region, or will they be giving Scugog or Uxbridge our share to have opportunities?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor, it will go into one general pot. It won't be earmarked specifically for Scugog.
So Scugog's little blip won't be put into a kitty for possible affordable housing projects?
Through you, Madam Chair. Well, it won't. Scugog has less growth than most municipalities in Durham, so we actually might benefit more from it because they'll be contributing to a pot, and some of it will be coming towards Scugog.
I guess I'd have to wonder what's the possibility of the northern smaller municipalities getting that share. Do you know? Have they actively said where they would like to use it?
I'm not aware of anything in that. I don't know if anyone else is.
Councillor Watton, did you have your hand up? No. Councillor Somerville?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. On page 40, the environmental assessment, this is for the DC study, to start in 2022, and the construction to start 2027 on this road widening of the across on the Johnson Control area. It recommended you put in 2018 to 2022. Has anyone ever, and I maybe should refer this to the regional councillor, have they ever thought of improving the road between Oshawa and Port Perry as far as widening the road all the way up? Because if you ever go on that road, anytime between 3 and 6 o'clock, it is one big long train. And the traffic is horrendous on that road. Has anything ever been said about the infrastructure? Not that I know of, through you, Madam Chair, not that I know of. It hasn't been brought up at any public meetings, but as they do specific chunks of the roadway, they look at all of the improvements that are required according to studies, traffic studies and volume and so on and so forth. So
I wonder when the last time they did a traffic study on that road, because even in the mornings going down, it's just a train, and coming back it's a train of traffic. And it just seems like it's a forever, like there's no point in even going, you just have to stay behind cars because it's just continuous. I'd like the idea of widening this road, but if you're going to widen one section of the road, then why don't we do more of a wider portion of the road and take it down a little bit further, or do it in the middle of something, and like even they could probably do it even Raglan up or something, because it's just crazy the traffic is, and that's what makes me wonder. I like this idea and I really like what our proposals are, but I just think that maybe, no wonder they put 2027, because it's probably, they're thinking about probably widening the road.
I'll ask some questions.
Would you mind? I think that's legitimate. Thank you.
Councillor Kett?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if it would be Director Heritage or not, but on the definition part of this, it says definition of farm building has been modified to explicitly exempt a residential unit on an agricultural lot. What does exempt mean?
And Councillor Kett, for reference, what page are you on?
Oh, sorry. 9 of 11, page 44.
Thank you. Sure.
Maybe I could help with that, Madam Chair.
Sure.
The exemption that they're referring to is that the DC charge would not apply, so they'd be exempt from the charge.
Okay, so, because I'm picturing somebody that's just divided a house off of their farm and having an empty farm field and throwing up 15 or 16 of these little buildings for temporary use. They don't pay DCs?
I believe that's a different scenario. That's not on the farm, once it's severed. And they're creating a new house. If they're severing an existing home, of course it wouldn't apply in any event.
It would be an empty farm. I'm talking about the surplus part, not the house.
If it's a bona fide farm and they're building a farmhouse.
Take an example of the one that we just approved to have the house severed off of the farm. It's an empty farm.
If a house is being built on a bona fide farm, the DC background study exempts it. So the region would look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Any further questions, Councillor Kett? Mr. CAO, is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to bring to Council's attention recommendation number 7, sorry. Number 7 deals with a request for the region to provide a DC charge and a DC reserve for broadband infrastructure. As you know, Scugog's great champions of having broadband extended throughout the region and particularly to the north. The region has just completed Phase 1 broadband strategy, has recently met with staff, and the mayor's participated, of course, because he's quite a champion of this. But I wanted to say that what this request is doing is saying that part of the DC charge should go towards infrastructure that the region is installing related to growth. And the idea here is when the region constructs or reconstructs a regional road, there would be DC funds, not taxpayer funds, to provide for the expansion of broadband within that right-of-way, within that road construction. This is, broadband should be, in our mind, considered to be essential infrastructure the same way the road is considered, the sewer is considered, water, and and storm drainage. So this would provide, as the region is providing a special reserve for social and affordable housing, this would provide a reserve for broadband and would go a long way to furthering broadband expansion in the region.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Does any councillor want me to read the motion? No? Okay, then we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor? Carried.
Next item on the agenda, 11.4, COMS 2018-039, and it's moved by Councillor, the recommended motion moved by Councillor Drew, seconded by Councillor Somerville. Questions on the motion? Councillor Drew?
I just didn't want everybody to panic about the Island Road. It's good to put this in our comments, but it is an interim report, and I know I spoke to it, I know the CAO spoke to it, I believe you did too, Mr. Mayor. Spoke to them right away as soon as the interim report came out saying, don't even think about switching the Island Road over to us, and they totally understand. That was what the consultant said. It's an interim report, and that's exactly why it's an interim report, so that we can comment on it. So don't want anybody to panic about that.
But good to have our points of view on record. Director Coleman, is there anything you wanted to add to the report? I didn't know if you wanted to highlight anything.
No, I think it's all laid out there.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Councilor Katz?
I'm sorry, I lost my comment here, but somewhere in the report I saw an extension, and I just found it. Scugog, line 14, from Lake Ridge Road to Highway 7.
Yes, your question?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out if they want us to take that over. Someone?
Director Coleman?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. No, they don't want us to take it over. That section of road is under the jurisdiction of the township, and they did not identify any roads coming from the township to the region. So this is one that we think potentially could go to the region in the future.
Because it goes from regional road to highway?
Right, correct.
Yeah, okay. Now, did somewhere else did I see extension of Shirley Road? I think so.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, yes, that is our recommendation number 4, that they extend Shirley Road from Simcoe Street to Highway 12 and make it a regional road.
Because Shirley Road's a regional road, correct?
It is a regional road, but the extension
No, yeah.
should be a regional road as well, we're saying.
It's just a right-of-way right now. It's not even a road.
Correct.
Right. So, are we recommending that they do that?
Yes, we are. That's recommendation number 4.
Have we given any other thought to that as far as the traffic that's going to be accumulated on Shirley Road, or the amount of traffic that we won't get through town? Although I realize some people don't want it, but there might be a financial impact on the businesses. Just a question, I'm not sure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, it would provide an alternative route for when 7A is very busy, or when there's an accident or a closure on 7A, so it would be a good alternative route.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's been any studies done.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Somerville?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to answer Councillor Kett's question about Scugog Line 14, that's a regional road that goes from Simcoe Street up to 712, and I believe that's the reason why they want from Saintfield to Lake Ridge. That would be a great one for them to take over, because that's a feeder road, and if they've already got part of the road, they could continue on to the rest of the road and take up to Lake Ridge. So that, I can understand that one. And the other one is Scugog Line 12, that's from Simcoe Street right up to Lake Ridge Road. That one would be a good one too, because that has a lot of traffic on, and again, that's another feeder road that comes through from people on Simcoe Street, and would take the pressure off of Simcoe Street for people, and 7A, for them to do the diversion up both Saintfield Road and up the 12th line. So yes, I would think that would be a great one if they would take those two over and do something with them. So, accolades there. Push on that one.
Councilor Beck?
Thank you, through the mayor. While we're talking about connections, line 8 from Simcoe to 12, which right now has a bridge that needs to be fixed. It would be nice if that became a regional road as well, and they could inherit that bridge to make it passable for cars, because as Councillor Somerville brought up, many months ago, when there's bad accidents, that also is a good commuter for people going west in the morning and coming east at home.
Any other, Director Bowman?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, I agree that that road and many others should be transferred to the region. We asked them about Line 6 as well, from Highway 12 to Highway 7A, and they didn't want to take that one over because it's too close to two other regional roads. And I think the same would be true for Scugog Line 8. They would say it's too close to Reach Street. So, I agree, I'd like many more to go over, but I thought if we highlighted the best ones, we'd have a better chance of getting those ones transferred.
Any other questions from council? All right, seeing none, it's already moved. All those in favor? Carried. Next is 11.5, the municipal service agreement. I need a mover for the recommendation to be received, moved by Councillor Kett, already seconded by Councillor Watton. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those in favor, I need to see hands, carried. Next is correspondence. I need a mover for the correspondence to be received, moved by Councillor Watton, seconded by Councillor Somerville. 12.1, so the hockey season realignment be received. Any questions on that? Councillor Kett?
I still want one of those MS, anyway, yeah, I think that's a great idea, what the lady from Selwyn is, or their council has put together. If it's, and it doesn't make sense when kids are out of hockey in January or 1st of February, and yet they're starting in September. So anything that could align us to save us 20% on our bill per month, that would be an asset. So I support that letter, and I would recommend that we send them a letter of support.
May I suggest, it's already moved to be received.
I realize that.
So, I would also suggest that you would want possibly some comment from staff to find out if that affects any programs or any summer camps or anything like that that's being run. But when we come back to you, Councillor Kett, if you still want to do anything with that. Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I differ from Councillor Kett, and I wouldn't support this. Yes, the regular season, as you may recall, typically ends around January, but playoffs then start, and most teams play on until April timeframe. So, by delaying the start, OMHA would have to make massive changes to their entire schedule, and the chances of OMHA making changes are likely, probably not favorable, but personally, I wouldn't be in support of this at this moment without any information to prove that OMHA is even willing to budge on any of their dates.
Any other questions from council? All right, seeing none, motion to receive. All those in favor? Carried. 12.2, correspondence, recommendation, Commissioner's report to be received. Any mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Kett, seconded by Councillor Watton. Any questions on that correspondence? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Somerville, seconded by Councillor Guido. All those in favor? Carried. Alrighty.